My mom has expensive demands for my wedding to impress her rich fiancé, otherwise she won't go. But her life gets ruined when her fiancé asks why she wasn't invited. When people ask me if I have a mother, I answer that well, it's what I've been given. In my 25 years, there isn't much I can say about her that makes me think of that woman as a mother. I'm also not used to receiving help from family members, much less from strangers. Also, sorry if this post gets long, I don't know how to make it short and precise while still including the important details. Hi, I just got married recently, and my mother wasn't at the wedding because, well, she thought there were values and points to clarify that were more important than her own daughter. I already had limited contact with my mom, 48, long before my wedding, so it's not like I missed her. We don't have a good relationship because she's an extremely selfish and entitled woman. It's because of her that I still have problems with money. No, it's not that I live in debt, but I always fear that someday I'll end up ruined. I have a good job, but I'm afraid to spend in case a day comes when I have nothing. This is very important for what comes next, you'll see. This began a few months ago. I announced my wedding and my mother found out, even though I didn't directly tell her. She contacted me and expressed her desire to be part of my wedding. The reason why we have little contact is that she likes asking for money and I don't like giving it to her. That's why we're not on the same page. She didn't like that attitude, and I didn't think reconnecting was that important. This time she wasn't asking for money, only to attend the wedding, and it didn't seem so bad after all. That day we talked a lot about our lives and she told me all about her fiancé, Artur, 53. For the record, everyone here will have fake names because I don't want anyone to recognize us. I had no idea that my mom was dating someone, much less that she was engaged to him. I want to say, I was in limited contact with her, and my mom hadn't reached out in a long time. It made sense that I didn't know about her engagement. Anyway, good for her, I suppose. She even asked to bring Artur as her +1 to the wedding, and I immediately accepted. To be honest, there was a change in my mother that I attributed to these people, so I wanted to meet him in person for having tamed an entitled person. The problem started when my mom began finding out the details of my wedding. Hi, for reference, my fiancé and I decided to have a very small and simple wedding. I already have certain mental issues with money, and neither of us wanted to spend thousands of dollars on a single day. We just wanted a small wedding in the church with close friends and family. My mom was extremely bothered by our plan. She kept repeating that my wedding was cheap and tacky. I got upset but told her that neither of us wanted a big wedding. Still, she kept pressuring us to change our minds and kept suggesting things that tripled our budget. I replied that the budget is what it is, if she likes it, fine, and if not, she can go back to the cave she came from. But that wasn't enough for her. We had to put on a lavish wedding so that her rich fiancé would be impressed. Today we had a big argument in which I told her that my wedding would be on my terms and that I wasn't interested in impressing her fiancé or anyone. My mom was offended because it seemed as if the wedding was about her and not about me. In the end she gave me an ultimatum and said she wouldn't go to the wedding if I didn't do what she said. I told her fine, it won't take me long to cross you off the list. My mom really ended up not going to the wedding, she even stopped talking to me. She sent me one last message saying that this would teach me a lesson for not listening to her. To be honest, whether she was there or not didn't matter much to me. She was still just as ridiculous, and in part she saved me from any drama she might have caused. Still, some people found out that she would attend the wedding, and not because of me, she made sure to tell them herself when she still had no problem with my wedding. When people asked why my mom didn't come, I told the truth. She pressured me to make the wedding more expensive, and when I said no, she uninvited herself. Everyone agreed that my mom had such an enormous sense of entitlement that it could probably be seen from space. We laughed and continued enjoying the day. Well, my fiancé and I laughed, because apparently my relatives didn't like anything about what my mom did. My family knows about my mom, but it's always minor things. My mom asks someone for money, people tell her no, she pouts, 2 years pass, and she forgets. But the wedding incident was different because it was her daughter's wedding and she was making it about herself. So they all collectively decided to boycott my mom's wedding. How did I find out? My mom called me to yell at me about it. She was screaming on the other side of the phone and probably ruining the microphone like a dolphin and a whale had an accident, and both were screaming in a squeaky tone. At that moment I wasn't aware of anything that was happening, so I told her, "Look, I don't know what you're talking about and I can't understand you." My mom kept going on and on saying that I was a vengeful and jealous brat who needed to get back at her for my wedding with this. I still didn't know what she was talking about. She said to stop acting because I knew very well what I had done, and that was turning the family against her so they wouldn't attend her wedding. That clarified some points, but I still wasn't very aware of the details of this boycott. She wasn't satisfied with my response. So she told me some dirty things and then hung up. I thought, well, that's that, but she kept sending messages threatening to cut contact with me if I didn't make everyone go to her wedding. I replied that she didn't have to wait any longer, she could do it right now, because I wasn't going to convince anyone of anything. But just like with my wedding, it wasn't the answer or reaction she expected. She, especially in her frantic narcissistic state, must have expected me to be scared and run to do what she wanted so I wouldn't lose the gift of having her in my life. If that was the gift, I hope they accept returns. My husband deals with a lot of narcissistic people because of his profession. It's like a place where he crosses paths with entitled people because they're his regular clients. But he has told me he has never seen a monster as vile as my mother, expecting someone to stop the rotation of the earth according to her whims. He asked me if anyone had their own personal story with someone more narcissistic than my mother, or if I actually had the ultimate specimen here. Edit. I had to make an edit because many of you are asking questions about my relationship with my mother. I understand that you want the full story because I only focused on the recent stuff and not on my past. Growing up, she was financially abusive with me because of her wasteful spending habits. She made me get a job at 15 because she didn't want me living off her. My mom wanted her underage daughter to support herself. I think she wanted to spend as little as possible on me. Although, in a way, she taught me a lot about effort, independence, and those kinds of things. I started cleaning houses at 15 and somehow managed to ease my mother's financial burden. Over time I got the hang of it and got a decent job at 16. They gave me a raise and I started saving significantly, at least that was the impression of a 16-year-old back then. My mom found out how much I made without me telling her, so she started demanding small loans. I was 16 and thought that saving $200 a month made me a member of the Rockefeller family, but I wasn't stupid. And when she demanded money, I told her no, and that was that for me. Although she tried to manipulate me and threatened to kick me out of the house, she usually didn't follow through because when she said it, I would respond that the first thing I'd do was go tell someone about it, and her fear of getting into trouble was bigger. When I turned 18, I left in less than 24 hours. Technically, I could have done it the minute I reached adulthood, but for a specific reason that isn't important, I had to wait until the end of the day to leave. That didn't stop my mom from contacting me and telling me I was a horrible daughter for abandoning her. She would also ask for money often, like she did with other relatives. Since I told her no because I needed the money for college and things like that, besides, it was my damn money and I wasn't going to give it to her, she cut contact because, in her words, I was, and I consider this a compliment, a very ungrateful daughter. In part, if it weren't for her and her sense of entitlement, maybe at 18 I would have stayed trapped with this woman. But instead, she helped push me forward. After that we had limited contact until she made that ridiculous request for my wedding, and we went back to how we were before. Update 1. I see a lot of people telling me I shouldn't have reconnected with my mother, and I agree, but I don't think it caused much harm, if any. At most, all it did was make the few relatives who still kept contact with her stop doing so. Hi, I'm still getting questions about why I never had a good relationship with my mother. If you missed the last edit, please read it. It explains a lot about why I don't like my mom and why I'm a bit sensitive about money. The people who read the edit have sympathized with me a lot. I've read some stories about entitled people you know, and yes, some are worse. I think if I told my mother that, she'd find a way to get first place. She's a bit competitive too. There have been questions about where my father is in all this. Well, he died a long time ago. He had an accident on his way back from work, spent an entire month in the hospital before succumbing to his injuries. Unlike my mother, he actually was a good father. My mom was actually a decent woman when my dad was alive. Sometimes I really wish I had those golden days back. It hurts to lose one parent and then watch the other become like this. Sometimes I feel like an orphan. Maybe you think I'm exaggerating, but that's how I feel. I must say that my husband and my mother-in-law are real human beings. Seeing my mother-in-law made me realize that mothers can be loving and caring. She's nothing like my mom at all. Edit. I'm not sad about losing my mother, I'm sad that my mother can't be like a normal mom. Losing her is the best gift she's given me, along with all the karma falling onto her wedding. That last part wasn't my intention, but I love when people earn something and actually get it. Update 2. My mom was blocked between my first post and the update, although she has used other numbers. She's simply relentless. The good thing about growing up with a narcissist is that your skin becomes slippery to what they say. Nothing can affect you when it comes from a person with that level of entitlement. But my mom's fiancé, Artur, contacted me yesterday. He wrote to me asking to meet and talk. He made it clear that he wanted to speak with me without my mother present. No, I don't know this man very well, or rather, I don't know him at all. I don't know, this could be a trap from my mother. This man could be even more narcissistic. Many things could go wrong. I asked my husband for his opinion, and he thinks I should meet him. He told me to do it in a public place, preferably a restaurant. He also offered to come with me and sit at a different table so he'd be there if things went badly. I thought it was a great idea. I called Artur and told him the plan to see if he agreed. He said he didn't mind my husband being present at the meeting. He was open to anything I asked because he mainly had some questions about my mother, and if my husband had anything to add, it would be super helpful to him. If he were an entitled person, he would be demanding things, so I see this as a good sign. I have the feeling that my mom has probably done something stupid and Artur wants to confirm it. Sorry, probably not probably, I'll be honest here and say that Artur had never approached me directly nor caused any drama regarding my wedding. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I know my mother is not exactly a sane or good person. Maybe Artur isn't the prejudiced man we think he is. There's only one way to find out, and that is to go to that meeting. I also don't want to lie and say that the part where he said I could order whatever I wanted and he'd pay, also for my husband, wasn't influential. I've tried not to take advantage of my position right now in case he really is a good man and just needs help to see the light. My husband and I will be meeting with Artur in 2 days, so there won't be an update before then. White Medium Star Update 3. Meeting with Artur was a very good idea. And it's not my stomach writing this, we ate very well, but that's not why I think meeting him was such a good idea. What he had to say was more important than the dessert or the appetizer. If I hadn't agreed to meet, I wouldn't have discovered what a lying, manipulative witch my mother is, and neither would you. Well, actually, yes. We already knew she was a lying, manipulative witch, just more so now. I hope I don't offend any witches, some of them aren't like my mother. She is one of the worst people I know in my life, and after the meeting, I think she has that position secured for a very long time. Also, definitely a reserved seat in hell. I still struggle to understand why she is like this. Even my husband said he's surprised I turned out to be a good person despite growing up with this woman. You're not going to believe what she's done. She created a false life for herself and manipulated Artur into thinking she is a rich woman. Artur realized something was wrong when my mom refused to give him a clear number of guests who would be coming from her side. She kept saying they still needed to confirm, but he investigated a bit and discovered that most of her guests had already confirmed they were not going. It was his wedding planner who told him, because even she was confused about what to do with the guest list. Out of the 40 people invited, including me, although I didn't know it at the time, only 3 had confirmed. They're not relatives, so I don't know who they are. My mom kept telling the planner that eventually some people would change their minds. That seemed strange to her fiancé, because if only 3 out of 40 people want to attend your wedding, the explanation is, well, not a very flattering one for my mother. Artur knew I was invited to the wedding. I had to tell him that she withdrew the invitation when I didn't do what she wanted, because I didn't agree to convince the family to forgive her. Artur had absolutely no idea about this. He did say that my mom acted devastated because I had uninvited her from my wedding, but he never imagined she would do the same to me. I'm not surprised my mother lied to Artur. I explained to him that my mom didn't attend my wedding by her own choice. She also didn't like the fact that I wasn't throwing a grand wedding to impress him and show him that we were high-class people. The lie she's been telling Artur, that she is a very wealthy woman, goes beyond what I can believe, because she also dragged me into that lie. She told him all kinds of stories about how she is rich and her family is rich. If we count an uncle who is rich in friendships, maybe that makes the story half true. She showed him the house where I live, literally drove past my door, pointed at it, and told him she bought that house for me. It isn't even my house, and she definitely didn't buy it for me. It's my husband's family home, which has been in his family for generations. Artur actually comes from a wealthy and well-off family, that's why I've been hiding our names and details. Artur also has a very well-paid job, so he has his own money. Meanwhile, my mother and I actually come from a much more humble background. I'm not ashamed of that, but for my mother, it matters a lot. I don't know my mother's finances in the last few years, only up until the time I lived with her. But since she has always been asking for loans, I doubt she's in the best possible position. I told Artur everything about it. I told him about our background and how my father died with many medical bills. We didn't receive any inheritance from him, so Artur was extremely shocked to hear all of this. He said he had no idea that my mom had been lying to him all these years. He said he had asked for a prenuptial agreement, but my mom kept telling him that she was just as rich as he was, so he didn't have anything to worry about. And there it is, the real reason she pretended to be rich when she's not. She had even been living in an apartment for a while until she moved in with him, and I'm sure my mother couldn't afford it. It was a small apartment because she said she didn't need much, but the area and the type of building could easily cost as much as a medium-sized house or more per month. I'm sorry to be the one ruining my mother's plans again, but I wasn't going to sit there enjoying the meal this man paid for without telling him the truth about my mother. We realized that my mom insisted I have a big wedding so that I would prove we came from a wealthy family, and when I kept refusing, she invented lies about me uninviting her so Artur wouldn't suspect anything. She was probably also afraid that I would tell Artur the truth. He told me she always said I had been a difficult daughter but that he didn't like giving up on me, which is why she kept trying, even when I was supposedly mean to her and didn't want her at my wedding. The web of lies and manipulation this woman has created is truly shocking. Artur was absolutely devastated to discover that the love of his life, or at least I think that's what she was to him, had been lying to him about almost everything. My husband patted him on the back because we both felt bad for him and didn't know what else to do. If he'd been a lifelong friend, we would have hugged him, but we had only known him for 30 minutes. I don't know where things stand now between Artur and my mom, but the wedding is more than cancelled. I don't think signing a prenup could fix this. I am 100% sure my mother will come after me if Artur breaks up with her or anything like that. I'm prepared for that, and I've renewed my life insurance. Update 4, I'm back and I have a positive update for you. Thank you so much for your kind comments. Well, the one saying my mother is the worst. Then there were the comments saying I was a bad person for getting involved in my mother's life. Either they read this upside down or they were joking. If it's the second, many laughs. If it's the first, I'm scared. I truly appreciate you all because you've shown concern for me and tried to cheer me up, but as I've said before, I'm not sad about any of this. I've learned to deal with my mother and her nonsense, although she always finds a way to make it even bigger. Hi, I'm a big girl now. I can put up with my mother's narcissism and everything that comes with it for a while. Everything was quiet, and I even started to think Artur might actually marry my mom. Then my mother showed up, looking furious. No, I didn't bother letting her inside because I knew why she was there. I hadn't spoken to Artur, but I knew exactly why she might be angry. I knew my mom would come to blame me soon. Artur promised, well, tried, to make my mother leave me alone, but there was only one place he could have learned the full truth from, and he wasn't going to ignore it. She was screaming, crying, and throwing such a tantrum that her blood pressure dropped and she wanted me to hold her. But I left her sitting on the grass alone because I wasn't going to touch her. I was afraid she would try to sue me. Yes, she could have fallen, hit her head, and sued me anyway, but I didn't invite her, and if I touched her, I'm sure she would have used that as assault. She confirmed our suspicions when she said Artur had left her and wouldn't marry her. He told her his reasons and made it clear he wasn't planning to marry a liar. She offered to sign the prenup, but that didn't fix much. She told me everything was my fault because I shouldn't have talked to him, that I shouldn't talk to her man. I told her he wasn't her man, neither before nor now. He wasn't before because she didn't buy him at a slave bazaar, and he isn't now because he wants to put as much distance between them as possible. That didn't help her anger, but since she was on the grass unable to get up, it's not like she could throw herself at me. She even had to lay back further, looking up while continuing to complain. I also told her I didn't want anything to do with her ever again, so she shouldn't bother showing up or contacting me anymore. I went back inside the house, but she was still lying on the grass like she was making snow angels. She still had enough strength to scream but apparently not to stand up. After about 20 minutes, I checked again and she was at least sitting. My husband asked if we should turn on the sprinklers, and I told him it wouldn't hurt. That made her get up very quickly and leave, though she kept yelling that she was going to report me or whatever. She didn't, but we have a doorbell camera and it was easy to see the whole interaction. The sprinkler thing was an honest mistake, Your Honor. The lawn was a little dry, and we didn't know my mom was still there. Normal people don't lie down on other people's lawns when they're not invited. Artur told me she was still trying to convince him to stay with her, but he had kicked her out and blocked her everywhere. I suggested the sprinkler trick. It worked very well for us. Then, a few weeks ago, my mom came back to my door because she had nowhere to go and no money. She had been living with him and moved to a motel while trying to convince him to take her back. It wasn't Artur who told her that wasn't happening, it was her credit card informing her she had reached the limit. I told her it wasn't my problem. I didn't care how she was going to find a place to stay or money for essentials. My only advice was that she look for help at a homeless shelter. She cried, saying I shouldn't treat her like this, that she was my mother and I should put aside our differences during an emergency. I didn't bother responding. The whole interaction was through the door, and since my husband can read my mind, a power people develop after getting married, he activated my mom's archenemies. With the first drops, she was already running off the lawn. The bad part is she stayed for a while just standing off to the side before finally leaving. She was probably in denial for a few days, or at least that's how I imagine it, but eventually she realized nothing would change and showed up at my door one last time last week. When I said the sprinklers would work, I meant they would get her off my lawn, not that they would stop her from coming back. We turned them on again, but this time she didn't move. I guess she came in a swimsuit. We called the police, and when they arrived, she was standing in the middle of the lawn, soaked. One officer asked why the sprinklers were on, and my husband said he saw on Animal Planet that they're good for scaring off squirrels and entitled mothers-in-law. I know he tried to hide it, but the officer laughed. I think the other one didn't hear because he was dealing with my mom. The police gave her a warning and told her to leave. I guess she got scared because she stopped harassing me after that. I talked to other family members, and they told me my mom had been asking everyone for money and a place to stay. She has 4 maxed-out credit cards, and I don't even know how she got 4. She also took small loans from her friends and never paid them back. She was counting on Artur and his money to repay them. That must be the people who confirmed attendance at her wedding, because they were the lenders making sure she got the money to pay them back. But she probably thought that once they were married, Artur would be obligated to pay her debts. Thank God Artur found out the truth. Now I feel good about not having asked for the meeting in an expensive restaurant. He's a good man and definitely doesn't deserve a gold digger like my mother. No one accepted her into their home, and although some didn't have sprinklers, they used other water methods to get her out of there. One person had a bucket of water, and just showing it to her made her run away like a cat afraid of water. Apparently, she had to stay in a homeless shelter because not even her friends want her anymore. Edit, boo-hoo to the people saying she didn't throw me out of her house and that I should have helped her instead of spraying her with water. The difference is that it was her duty as a mother, while I don't owe anything to a lying, climbing, narcissistic, entitled person and hairy manatee. There's something I didn't mention because I didn't know it either. I thought my mother had nowhere to live because she was basically completely and miserably drowning in debt from pretending, but on top of that she had quit her job behind her fiancé's back, the job she had claimed she kept just because she liked having one, to have something to do, because in her version of being rich, she didn't actually need a job. Update 5. I'll start by promising that I haven't thrown water at my mother in this update. I must clarify that because I'm scared to post anything and have people form some kind of association for the protection of entitled mothers who get what they deserve. It scares me to see how many people like my mother are out there. This planet is going to hell. My mother found a job and an apartment to live in after 2 months in a homeless shelter. The only bad thing I see in that is that the place could have been used by someone who truly needed it, not my mother, who only ended up there for scamming, deceiving, lying, and being a horrible person in general. That's where the good news for my mother ends. Now comes all the negative stuff, which isn't exactly little. The family, and particularly I, still don't want anything to do with her. I know, how horrible, a daughter who doesn't love her mother. How tragic. I don't like this OP is no better than her mother. Blah blah blah. However, 2 of her friends have sued her in small claims court to get their money back. One of them lost the claim, the other won and she'll have to pay her back. I don't know why one of them won and the other didn't, maybe evidence. This is bad enough if we consider all the credit card debt my mother still has. This is a debt for Methuselah, the only one who could live long enough to pay it off. My mother's next misfortune was being attacked by the friend who lost the case against her, which is why she was taken to a hospital to treat some injuries. But her life isn't in danger. She filed a report against that friend, and the friend pled guilty and agreed to pay her medical bill. At this point, I think many people would have wanted to be that friend and didn't dare because of legal consequences. At least my mother didn't lose her job or suffer a serious injury, because she could have lived off the compensation from a lawsuit. It makes me think that this friend hit her strategically, just enough to scare her and get some revenge, not enough to get into major trouble. And before you say it, I'm not happy about this, I'm just telling it. I know how much you all love defending my mother, but if she were your mother, you'd be writing the same thing or something much worse. As I said, this planet is going to hell, but because of the hypocrisy of some people. That's why it's important that those of us who don't like being stepped on stick together. There are many out there who love stepping on others or being stepped on.